Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's me, IJ, and here is IJ Designs. On today's tutorial, we are going to learn how to make a yoke blouse with 720 degrees peplum. This yoke blouse is going to be a bustier blouse. Without wasting much time, I would like to say a very big thank you to my subscribers, both old and new subscribers. I'm very grateful to you all. You are welcome on my channel. You are welcome on board. Thank you for all your support. I appreciate you guys. So now, as you can see on my table, I have my pattern paper. I have drafted what we are going to use to cut out our materials. I've made a detailed video on how to make a bodice. So I'm going to use that. I'm going to use the bodice now to draft out this bustier pattern blouse that we are going to make. As you can see, right behind me on the screen, you can see the blouse that we are about to make is there on the screen. The upper part of it is with net. So that is what we are going to achieve today. So without wasting much of your time, I would like us to get started. Now, this is what I'm going to use to cut out our panels. So let me just go through it so that we can all refresh our memories. So now, here is our starting point. From here to here is the armhole. That is 9.5 inches is armhole from the shoulder to 9.5 armhole. From shoulder to 12, that is the bust point. From 12 to 16, that is the under bust, and from shoulder to 18.5 is our waist and half inch seam allowance. The waist is 18.5 inch is to turn it to add it to the peplum blouse that we are making. Remember, the peplum is 720 degrees peplum. So the half inch is to add it, to use it to attach to it. So now, what is the nipple to nipple measurement that we are using? Nipple to nipple is 4.5 plus half inch is 5. That is my 5 inches here, the nipple. So from here, I measure down to the waist, also 5 inches. And also, I came to the chest line, also 5 inches, and I give it a straight line. So after giving it a straight line, then I came up to the neck area, that is the shoulder line. Remember, our shoulder is 8 inches, and 8 divided, our shoulder is 16 inches, and 16 divided by 2 is 8. So we have 8.5 on the shoulder line. Do you see 8.5? And there, our opening, first opening is 3 inches, which I marked here. The 3 inches. And now we take our shoulder slope, which is 1 inch here. And from these 3 inches, I connected it to the 1 inch shoulder slope. So after taking out these 3 inches, what is left for me from the shoulder slope to here is 5.5. 5.5, I divided it into 2. I have 2 3/4. So that 2 3/4 is in the middle. So from this middle here, I connected it down to the chest line. So that is this straight line you are seeing. So now the next thing to do is to determine our dart. The dart we are going to use is 1 inch. Sometimes I use 1/4, but in this project I'm using 1 inch. So from the bust point now, I went up by 1 inch. And I also came down by 1 inch to ease the area of the bust. To ease the area of the bust, that is why I went up by 1 inch and also came down by 1 inch. And now, under the bust, I took away 1 inch from each side. Now 1 inch this side, 1 inch this side, that is 2 inches we are taking away as our dart on the under the bust. And these 2 inches, I brought it down to the waist. So the dart I'm also taking from the waist is 2 inches. Remember, all this dart has to be added after the measurements. So now the 2 inches that we took, I now connected it to the 1 inch that we came down from the bust points. Now that is the connection that you now saw. That is our dart. All this is our dart. They are going off. And also on this side, remember, it's a yoke blouse. So you have to determine the radius of your bust measurement. So now I just measured from the under bust, from the bust point to the under bust, I have 4 inches. Then these 4 inches, I brought it up also to just like so. Here I have 4 inches. Do you see it? If you don't have the compass to draw it, just measure between your bust point and your under bust what you have, then measure it up from the bust point. So that is what I did here, and this is my 4 inches. I now gave it a straight line. That is this first line you are seeing now. And on this upper part of the blouse, we need to take also our dart out, and the same 1 inch I took from the under bust, I also measured 1 inch as my dart from the chest side. So here I took 1 inch and here I took 1 inch. Do you see it? So now 2 inches is also going off here. We are going to also replace it here. So now let us insert the measurement. After taking out our darts, remember this is our dart that is going out. All these darts are going out. All these darts, they are going out. So now what's the bust measurement that we are working with? The bust measurement is 45. 45 divided by 4 is going to give us 11.5, and that is our 11.5. Do you see it? So this that is going out here is 3/4 inches that is going out from the dart on the upper part of it. So I replace it here. Then remember, you have to sew it 1 inch and also 1 inch seam allowance and a ½ inch to turn it to the lining to look beautiful. If you don't have the zigzag machine, it's 2.5 inches, and this is our 2.5 inches. You see it? So we came down to the waist. The waist we are working with is waist 39. 39 divided by 4 is 9.75. So this is our 9.75 here. Remember, we are going to replace your dart 2 inches. This is the 2 inches. And also 2 inches that we added here. This is it, the 2 inches. So this is the main measurement, and this is the allowances that we added, 2.5 inches. That's the first line you are seeing is the main measurement, and the second line you are seeing is the allowances we added. So now let's come down to the upper part of the blouse. Remember, it's a yoke. So remember, we came down to determine the slope by 1 inch. So after that, we have to measure what we have to determine the center of our armhole. So here we now have 8.5. Divide 8.5 by 2, you have 4.25. That is here. Do you see it? So from there, I came in by 3/4 inches. I now connected it to the armhole as my front armhole. So now, remember, I'm going to cut out here. So we have now determined our armhole. The next thing is to determine how to cut it out, to use this as the yoke. So since I'm going to cut out here, here is where I'm going to cut out, where the radius is, the 4 points that we got here, 4 inches that we brought up again, here 4 inches. That is where we are going to cut off to join the yoke, to use this side to make our yoke. But I'm not going to cut it directly here. I need ½ inch seam allowance, so I added ½ inch seam allowance. You see it here? So here is where I'm going to cut my yoke from. Remember, while cutting this yoke, you have to add extra 1 inch. Because of this half you took away, and they have to join it to the body, so you need 1 inch allowance to cut it. So now I'm going to use this. I just gave you a quick summary of the measurement we have here. And now I'm going to use it to cut out the main material, and I'll show it to you guys. And on the back side of it, the back panel is the normal back panel. The normal back panel, the normal body's back panel. So if you have not know how to draft it out, I have made a detailed video on how to draft this out. So check it out. It's just the darts you have to take in and your neckline and the armhole. So now we now measured where we are going to start to add our yoke also. On the front side is 7.5, and I measured 7.5 here. Normally it is 8, but because we are going to use need allowance, we now measure it to 7.5. That is where we are going to cut out to add yoke on it. You will now use this to add it as the yoke. So now let us cut it out, and I'll show it to you guys. Now guys, as you can see, I've cut out our panels. This is the center panel. And also cut out the linings. Remember, while making lace, you need 4 linings to make it look more beautiful. So now, that's the center panel. Do you see it? That's the center panel. And also the linings are here. All these are the linings, and this is also the back panel. We have cut out also the back panel. Can you see it? That's the back panel. That's the back panel. That's the armhole. The back panel, we have cut it out. We have cut also the front panel, and all this you are seeing are the linings. So the next thing to do now is to start to fix them together. So now I'll take it to the machine. This first one with the lining. Just take your lining. That's the center. Take it in this form. You see it? And also the side. Also the side. Also put it in this form. Also the side of it. This is the way to fix it. Do you see it? But before then, I'm going to put it gumstay and also pat the bust, and I'm going to fix them together, and also take the 1 inch at the back, the 1 inch seam allowance, and also fix them together, and I'll show it to you guys. Our panel has been fixed together. That is the front side of it. I padded it. Do you see it? And that's the front side. It has been fixed. And also the back panels. That's the back panel. The 1 inch allowance has been taken in. That's the back panel. The next thing now is to remember to cut off the 1/2 inch at the back to prevent it from puffing out after you have inserted your zip. So I'm going to do it to this. I'm going to cut out 1/2 inch. Remember the 2 panels at the back. Just take the 2 panels at the back, place it together, and from this zip side, come in by 1/2 inch and connect it to the edge here. Then you cut it out. It will avoid it from puffing at the back after inserting your zip. Now the next thing to do is to fix our panels together, the lining and the main material together. Remember, it is a blouse that will have a yoke. That's the yoke. The yoke is a net. Do you see it? I have cut out the yoke, which is a net. The yoke is a net, and I've also hem it with bias. So now the next thing is to fix it together. Before then, I will now fix the bodies together. Then I will now take this, the front one. This is the front net. Take the front net and add it here. Do you see it? Then it will be in this form. I'll now fix it. It will be in this form. Do you see the net? So I'm going to fix it now, and I'll show it to you guys. Now guys, I have fixed our net. Do you see it? This is the front net. This is the front net. I have fixed it. This is the front net. And also this is the back net. Do you see it? I have fixed it. So, do you see the inside? So now the next thing is to work on our peplum and also our sleeve. Then after that, we will now attach it to the upper parts of our blouse and fix our sleeve, and our blouse is ready. Now guys, remember we are making 720 degrees peplum. So by making 720 degrees peplum, we have to divide our waist by 2. And the waist we are working with is waist 39. We added 1 seam allowance for the zipper, which is 40. So now divide 40 into 2, we are going to have 20. And this 20, we are going to divide 20. Each of these 20s, we are going to divide them by 6.28, which is the circumference to divide our waist, the radius to divide our waist. So now, if you divide 20 by 6.28, we are going to have 3.1. Let's make it a round number, 3 inches. Then these 3 inches, remember the length of the peplum that we are going to make is 8 inches. Add the 8 inches to the 3 inches, you have 11 inches plus 1 seam allowance to turn the peplum to the lining and to add to the upper part of the blouse. So what we need in total is 12 inches. So let me now measure out our 12 inches. Then I'll measure all around 12. Now let's cut it out. Now this is our 12 inches. I'm going to use this now to cut out 3 more lining. Remember, in making a lace material, you need 2 lining. So now I'm going to cut out more 3. And also, after cutting out more 3 of the lining, I'll cut out only but 2 of the lace. Now guys, I've cut out our 4 lining. This is the first one, the second, the third, and the 4th lining. I have cut it out. This is the 4th one, and also I've cut out 2 of the peplum. See it? Now the next thing to do is to cut it open, and also I'll cut all open to join it together, and I will also add this gum stay to it so that it's going to be a little bit strong. It's going to stand. I would like it to stand, so I'm going to add this gum stay to it. So after that, I'll sew it, then I'll show it to you guys. Remember, this lining, this 4 lining that I cut out is for 1. We are going to place 1 at the back. We are going to place 1 at the back, and the other one is the one that we are going to put the gum stay to. That is the one that is going to stay. It's going to be in this form. Let me show you the way it's going to be. First the lining, the first lining, then you put your lace on it. You put your lace on it. Do you see it? After that, you now take another one to cover. This is the one that we are going to put the gum stay on, this one. So you now put it in this one, then you now sew it round. After sewing it round, you notch and you turn it over. So I'm going to do that and I'll show it to you guys. Now guys, the peplum is ready. Can you see how it's looking? And also a little bit standing. Do you see it? It's standing a bit because of the paper gum stay that we attached to it. Do you see it? So the next thing now we have to do is to attach it to the upper part of our blouse, and then And how do you do that? Just open it up. This is the peplum and this is the blouse, the upper part of it, right side facing each other. Do you see it? You just fix it in this form. So I'm going to now fix the peplum and the upper part of it together. I'll fix it and I'll show it to you guys. Then we'll now fix our sleeve and put in our zip, and our blouse is ready. I have fixed our peplum to the main body of the blouse. Do you see it? I fix it. This is the front and this is the back. I fix it, and also one of the sleeve. I have fixed one of the sleeve. As you can see, the sleeve has also yoke. Do you see it? The sleeve has also yoke. So I decided to fix one and to show to you guys how I achieved the yoke. Now just get your normal sleeve. Get your normal sleeve, basic sleeve. This is my basic sleeve, as you can see it. So what I did was to cut out my basic sleeve. After cutting it out, I now fold it. I close it up here with the longest stitch in my machine. Then I now fix it on the blouse. While fixing it on the blouse, when I get to this area where the yoke starts, I now mark it. And also at the back, when I get to the area where it also starts, I now mark it. That is where the yoke starts, where the net starts in the blouse. I now mark it with a pen, and also in the front, I now mark it. And after that, I now place it on my table, and now from this end of the sleeve to this end of the sleeve, I now give it a straight line. I now measure how many inches is that. It is 3.5 inches. So I now get another pieces of net. I place it on top of my sleeve. Just place it on top of the sleeve. Do you see it? I place it on top of the sleeve. After placing it on top of the sleeve, I place it in this form. Then I sew to it. I just stitch it. After stitching it, I now turn it over. So when you now turn it over, you just cut out exactly what you have, your sleeve. Do you see it? You just cut it out. Do you see what I did? I now cut it out. After cutting it out, you have gotten exactly the size of the sleeve. Now the next thing to do is just open it up like this and cut off this, because you don't need it anymore. The net is going to replace it. So just open it up, cut it out. Do you see it? That is the simplest way to get it accurately. So now the next thing I have to do is just to zigzag the here, after which I will now top stitch it to this side of my sleeve. Do you see it? I now top stitch it. So I will now top stitch it on this side of the sleeve, and then I'll now fix it to our sleeve, and our sleeve is complete. After I have finished that, I now put the zipper. I'll now put the zip, because I have not put the zip. I want to show how I achieved this yoke of the sleeve. So I will now put the zip. After putting the zip, now after fixing our zipper and our sleeve, I would like to beautify the front of this blouse with these patches. I will now cut out some patches from the material to use it to beautify the front part of this blouse. As you can see on the picture, there is flowers that is used to beautify the front, and also at the back, and also the sleeve to cover up where the net is being fixed. I'm going to cut it out as many as I can. Then I'll use it to place it with a special gum. Then after which I'll show it to you guys. Guys, here is our finishing look of the blouse we have just made. Do you see how beautiful it looks with the skirts? Do you see it? The skirt is just a straight cut skirt. Now guys, do you see our finished blouse? Do you see the patches? Like I said, to use it to close up where the net is being fixed. Do you see how it looks so beautiful? Do you see with the skirts? Do you see how it looks? So make one for yourself and tag me on Facebook and Instagram. If this tutorial has been helpful to you, don't forget to give me a giant thumbs up, like, share and comment on my videos. And also, if you have not subscribed, please consider subscribing. See you in my next video. Bye.